and welcome to another episode, if you will, of Veterans in Politics. This is Troy Warren sitting in for Steve Sanson and Jim Jonas today. They're over at the Rhythm Kitchen doing endorsement interviews for those running for office here in the state of Nevada, locally, statewide, and as well as those running for the federal stuff. On today's show, we're actually going to have Congressman Cresent Hardy. We're going to have a man by the name of Richard Black, who has got some very interesting and a story that needs to be told about guardianship. If those of you that have older parents, such as myself, you might want to listen to this. This is some pretty interesting stuff, to say the least, and something that needs to be talked about because there's some stuff going on that I think is illegal and needs to be straightened out. We also have with us today Jesse Sbaih. He was actually, you were just in the interview process, weren't you, of Veterans in Politics?
I was.
Yeah, so you know what, we're just going to jump right into this thing. So here's what I'd like you to do. Go ahead and tell the listeners who you are, what you do, give us a bio, and what you're running for.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today, Troy, and for your audience for tuning in today. My name is Jesse Sbaih. I'm running in Nevada's 3rd Congressional District. It encompasses Henderson, a portion of Las Vegas, Laughlin, Boulder City, and that's the district. It's an open seat.
That's a lot of people.
It is. And it's a seat that's being vacated by Joe Heck, who's running for Senate. About myself, I'm a son of two amazing people who brought me to this country, sacrificed everything to bring me to this country in order to have the opportunity to achieve the American dream. I'm also a husband of a brilliant and incredibly beautiful woman, Dr. Samira Sbaih, who's a physician in the 3rd Congressional District where I'm running. She is the love of my life, and she is really my rock.
That's so cool.
And I'm a father of 3 adorable children who give me inspiration and inspire me each and every day to do great things for America. And I'm also a trial lawyer. I've been a trial lawyer for about 14 years, where I fight each and every day for members of our community against oppression, injustice, and stand up for them. And I have been a voice for them for many, many years, and that's what I do for a living. Troy, I'm often asked why you're running for Congress.
That would be my first question.
And for me, it's really simple. I love our country, I love my community, and I love the American dream. You see, Troy, when I was 11 years old, my father was a lawyer, my mother was a teacher, and we lived in Jordan, in the country of Jordan, and they wanted to give their children, myself included, a better life, and that better life could only be found in a country called America. So they packed up everything. They made huge sacrifices and brought us to the United States. We settled in Chesapeake, Virginia. Troy, when we arrived as an 11-year-old, I didn't speak any English, and so I had to carry a dictionary around with me.
So I have to, what language is it that you spoke?
I spoke Arabic.
Okay, so you did speak, okay.
Yeah, so we brought, when we came, I had to carry the dictionary around with me for a couple of years to be able to learn. But I tell you, just the amazing American people back there in Chesapeake, Virginia, who took the time and the effort to tutor a little curious kid carrying the dictionary. So I learned quickly, and I was able to excel in school. And I am forever grateful to those people for helping me out. And like most immigrants with no connections and no extended family in the United States, my family began to struggle financially. So I had to step up to the plate. And at the age of 12, a wonderful lady by the name of Vivian Didios gave me the opportunity to work at her Italian restaurant as a dishwasher. So I started washing dishes at the age of 12, working late into the evening, and it wasn't easy, but I had to step up to the plate and help my parents out. And as a young child, working hard, and I had to working late into the evenings a lot of times. I had to study all night for a test the next day. But I always believed that better days were ahead. Despite all the difficulties, I was greatly appreciative to be part of this great nation, and I was immensely grateful for the sacrifices my parents made. And thanks to those opportunities that this amazing country gave me. And the more this country gave me, the more I wanted to give back. And so thanks to those opportunities and the wonderful people who have embraced me along the way, I was able to graduate high school with honors.
Good.
I was able to get a scholarship to the University of Miami, where I graduated with honors there, and had a degree in political science and economics. I was able to go to law school and get a scholarship there, and graduated near the top of my class. And after law school, that's what brought us to Nevada. I had the honor and privilege of clerking for Justice Young, Vice Chief Justice at the Nevada Supreme Court. And then after that, we came down to Las Vegas from Carson City, and I've had the privilege of having my own small business, my law firm, where I employ outstanding people from our community. So all these opportunities, Troy, that I was able to receive and to really achieve the American dream, I feel are quickly slipping away from far too many Nevadans and Americans. And that's not acceptable to me. So I've decided to run because I want people to have the opportunity to achieve the American dream, to be able to work hard and get ahead and get back to our community. And that's why I'm running.
Okay, so one of the things that has been brought up a lot lately, especially in the state of Nevada, because we rank so high in this problem, there is so much government intervention. I'm not talking just local, state. I'm talking in the federal level of, I have to ask to go into business. I have to ask permission to start a business because of all the rules and the regulations, from the EPA, you name it. So you talk about the American dream, yet government's getting in the way of that dream, in my opinion. What are some of your ideas around that to repair that, and how do you get government out of business to be able to allow that? Because the dream is to be a business owner, to make that money, because such as yourself, one of the things that I grew up with my parents, and they always told me, said, you want to know why people that immigrate to this country do so well? And I just looked at it, and I was a young child back in those days, and they told me, said, they're always told the streets are paved with gold. You even said it yourself. My parents wanted to give me a better life. We came to America because we knew what was available here. It wasn't available, obviously wasn't available in Jordan, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So what would be some of your thoughts or some of your ideas to get government out of the way so we can't, including taxes, to be able to allow more people such as yourself to have that American dream and be their own boss? Yeah,
let me just be clear about something. Streets are not paved with gold in the United States.
Well, that's just a term used.
Right. Yeah, but it's a lot of hard work.
Yes,
and
it is.
Dedication. You have got to work hard. But what's beautiful about the United States of America is it provides the opportunity for those people who are willing to work hard, who want to work hard and get ahead and achieve that dream. But it's been enormously difficult for me personally from the day we arrived to this country until this day to try to build a life where we can say we have achieved the American dream. So it really, what's wonderful about this country again is if you work hard and you're dedicated, you can make it in the United States of America. So to your question, which is a great question, as far as a lot of the businesses that are opened here in the state of Nevada really are, if you want to open a business, whether in Nevada or Arizona or anywhere else, the laws surrounding the business, opening the business, is really a state law issue, and sometimes states are better than others for allowing small businesses to grow and to prosper. But at the federal level, we have to understand, and people need to understand, that small business is enormously important. It's the backbone of our economy, and we need to do everything we can to try to help business grow and prosper. One of the ideas that I have is to make small business loans available at a very reasonable interest rate, and give incentives for people to open businesses, tax incentives for people to establish a new business. One of the things I really care about, and I think is very important, is hiring veterans and providing tax credit on the federal level for businesses that hire veterans. I think that's a great idea, to put our veterans, who are leaders by being in the military and coming out.
By virtue of putting their butt on the line.
Yeah, absolutely. They are born leaders, and they're ready, willing, and able to provide huge services back to our communities and our country. So, again, at the end of the day, small business is the backbone of our economy, and we must do everything we can to try to help business grow and prosper.
Okay, so you just segued right into where I was going to go next, which was the veteran stuff. Being at the federal level, now, one, I never served in our military, I chose school out of high school instead of going into the military. However, I've always been a big supporter. I have a lot of friends and family that are military, especially in the latest ones, Desert Storm, over in Afghanistan, Iraq and all that stuff. Personally, as an American, I'm really pissed off what's going on with the VA. And, I do a lot, I'm involved with a lot of veterans here, and I listen to their stories. One man in particular, Greg Whalen, is a good friend of mine, and he's going through his problems with the VA, and yet he's out there supporting other men and women to help them get their problems and stuff solved. So my question is, who's going to step up to the plate? When are they going to step up to the plate? And when is this going to get handled? Because as far as I'm concerned, before we let any more refugees into this country, we need to handle our veteran stuff. Now, I catch a lot of flack for that, but the truth is what you said. They're born leaders by virtue of putting their butts on the line. What's your thoughts and plans around that?
All right. We need to keep two things in mind. Okay. One, we must always do more for our veterans. This is one fundamental thing that we need to keep in mind whenever we're thinking about veterans. And two, no veteran in the United States of America should be left behind. Okay? There are serious issues facing our veterans each and every day. Okay? As you know, the VA is divided into two parts. There's the benefits part and there's the healthcare part. Okay, we have got to make sure that they're doing their jobs. When somebody puts their life on the line to protect you in this country and they're willing to take a bullet to give you freedom, when they come back home, you need to do everything you can to give them their benefits on time, okay, so they don't struggle. And two, you need to give them the health care that they deserve, okay? We have not been very good at that lately with the situation in Phoenix and the horror stories that we hear everywhere, how our veterans are being treated or mistreated. Okay, so we need to put an end to that. I think there should be some sort of a commission whereby they oversee specifically the VA and how the VA is doing its job. And if the VA or any personnel is not doing their job, they need to be held accountable.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Bernie Sanders sits on one of those panels, and he wants to be the commander-in-chief. What would you do if you were on that panel? Like if you were on that panel, like what programs would you put into, not even programs, what would you do with the people not running this thing right?
Well, again, what Bernie Sanders is doing, he's part of a committee that oversees the VA. What we need is an independent commission.
Okay.
And this is what I'm proposing, an independent commission that is specifically, its only job is to oversee the VA system. And I've met with a lot of veterans. And one thing for me, Troy, is I've been around veterans. I grew up in Chesapeake, Virginia. It's a big military town.
Yeah, the whole East Coast.
Yeah, the Norfolk, Virginia, the shipyards. And I know how I've met a lot of veterans over my lifetime. I've lived close to them. They were my neighbors, my friends, and a lot of my friends growing up were part of military families. So I profoundly have a deep, profound respect for our military men and women and for our veterans. And we need to, of course, we need to do more for them. We have some serious issues facing our veterans, and I think it would behoove me to speak about those because we need to bring attention to it, whether it's on this show and should be on every other show where we're talking about these veterans issues. One is suicide prevention.
Yes.
Troy, 22 veterans die in the United States, an average of 22 veterans die in the United States of America as a result of suicide each and every day. That is 22.
It's unacceptable.
It is unacceptable. That number should not exist. And that's 20% more than the general population. Okay? We need to do something about this, what I call epidemic of veterans losing their lives to suicide. Okay? And there's fundamental problems that are causing that. I mean, we're sending them to very dangerous places, and it really, their psyche is affected, their health is affected, their everything about them is affected. So we need to do a better job of reaching out to the veterans and their families. We need to provide services and opportunities for their families when they notice something wrong with our heroes who return home, they need to be able to call somebody and say, my husband or my wife is in trouble. They need help. So we need to facilitate channels for them to be able to report these issues. I'm also very concerned about trauma. A lot of our veterans come back with trauma, whether it's TBI, brain injuries, or just losing a leg or an arm. We need to take care of our veterans when they come back and provide them those services. Another thing is criminal justice. You know, a lot of our veterans come back, they're stressed, and they have sometimes PTSD, and they commit crimes. In the state of Nevada, we do a great job of having veteran courts, okay? But we don't have any of those at the federal level.
Yes. So once again, point of contact.
Sure. Please reach me at, you could go to my website, votesbaih.com. That's VOTESBAIH. You can find us on Facebook, Jesse Sbaih for Congress, and at Twitter, at Jesse Sbaih. Please, in closing, please help our veterans any way you can. We owe them big.
Well, thank you again, Jesse Sbaih. Running for Congress, District 3, correct?
Yes.
District 3. We'll be right back, folks, with Richard Black.
Thank you, Troy.
Nevada Legal Forms and Tax Services have been serving Nevada. Nevada Legal Forms and Tax Services, the reliable option for your legal and tax matters. The original do-it-yourself legal source store with paralegals, registered document preparers, and enrolled agents to assist you when you need it. Need help getting divorced? Starting your business, or just filing your taxes? Nevada Legal Forms is there for you. Nevada Legal Forms has over 1,000 legal forms and do-yourself kits for all your everyday matters. Nevada Legal Forms, the best place to start. Nevada Legal Forms and Tax Services is not a law office or have attorneys on staff and cannot give legal advice.
Nevada Legal Forms, Charleston and Valley View. Call 702-870-0977 or online at nevadalegalforms.com.
Hi, my name's Annette Levy. Did you know that we usually elect judges based solely on name recognition? So here goes. My name's Annette Levy. My name's Annette Levy. My name's Annette Levy. Now, for those of you who might want to know a little more, I have 29 years legal experience, 15 years arbitrator, 11 years judge pro tem. I'm ethical. I'm experienced. I want to be your district court judge in Department 20. And by the way, my name's Annette Levy.
Paid for by the Committee to Elect Annette Levy. If you'd like to know more, visit her website at electannette.com.
Paul Pata Law is a proud sponsor of Veterans and Politics. Attorney Paul Pata, a former federal prosecutor, is ready to fight for you. If you've been injured in a car accident, call Paul. Been a victim of a medical malpractice at the VA? Call Paul. Suffered a slip and fall? You better call Paul. Paul Pata Law, 702-366-1888. That's 702-366-1888. Or check us out on the web at paulpadda.com. That's paulpada.com. You fought for our country, now let us fight for you at Paul Pata Law.
And welcome back. My name is Troy Warren. I'm sitting in for Jim Jonas and Steve Sanson, who are over at the Veterans and Politics endorsement interviews for everybody running for office this election cycle here in the state of Nevada. Our next guest, his name's Richard Black. You know, I really don't know how to go about getting into what we're going to talk about. So you know what? I am just going to give you the floor and tell your story because it needs to be told.
Thanks, Troy. Thanks to you and Steve for inviting me on your program today. You know, I'm not a resident of Nevada. I hail from Charlotte, North Carolina. My wife and I, unfortunately, were drug into what I term human trafficking that has been going on here in Las Vegas for the last 20 plus years. And that's called adult guardianship. Sadly, my father-in-law was diagnosed with Alzheimer's by his friend and landlord several years ago, and unbeknownst to the family, she decided to rob him. And when we discovered the theft and came to Las Vegas to try to help him, we were then drawn into the adult guardianship system here in Clark County, which sadly was quite corrupted at the time. And 2 years later, after significant litigation and a loss of approximately $850,000 by our family, my father-in-law died in the home of his guardian.
Condolences.
Thank you. That was last summer, July. The irony of this whole thing is, as we were directed to family court to try to resolve the issue, family court participated in the exploitation of my family. And I did take the evidence to law enforcement, and we got an indictment. And now the guardian is headed to criminal trial in May on 2 felony fraud counts, and we hope to get a conviction. But sadly, in the journey, we lost quite a bit of money, and the opportunity to save my father-in-law was taken away from us. The bigger story, though, is the one that Steve caught on to a couple of years ago when I started a campaign really as an advocate to show, because it became clear that our case was not an isolated incident. I ended up leaving my job about a year ago, devoted 100% of my time as an advocate to dozens of families around the world who lost loved ones here in Las Vegas who were conscripted into adult guardianship. And truly, it is human trafficking. When the guardians and their lawyers get a hold of your loved ones, and it's always about money.
It seems like it always is.
Oh, yeah. They profile them. In our case, the woman who's now under indictment was an unwitting lackey. She quickly had a bunch of friends that were more than happy to defend her in court, and they successfully took about 90% of the money. She made money off the deal, which she'll probably never repay, but it was really the conspiracy around her that yielded most of the money from my father-in-law's estate. But through that effort, we identified over 60 families that lost over $30 million. And that's right. Just in the last 5 years, through adult guardianship proceedings here in Clark County. And in each case, they were removed from their loved one, and all of their loved one's estate, or most of it, was given to third parties, and their services never improved. So,
okay, so back up just a second. You said their services were improved. So there's a lot of stuff going on around the stealing of assets of these, certainly of these individuals. What about the care of the individual? What did you experience there? Was there abuse? Was there not abuse? I mean, were they taken care of?
Abuse is relative. The answer is yes, but if you have a net worth of $300,000 and you are living in your home and taking care of yourself and you're perfectly fine, you don't need a guardian, and you certainly shouldn't be taken from your home and put in a group home where, yeah, you're taken care of, but all of your lifelong possessions have been taken away from you. Your home has been taken away from you. All of your rights have been taken away from you, your privileges, and your family.
Okay.
So, this is organized crime.
Sounds like embezzlement.
Well, all of that, but it's fraud, it's crime, but it's done under the auspices of being legal because a judge signs an order that says you're incompetent or incapacitated and you can't take care of yourself. And the government now, and my friends who are professional guardians, are going to take care of you and your estate, but you and your family never get the benefits of your estate.
So what has this done in these what has this done to you and your immediate, you and your wife, and I'm assuming you have kids because I didn't even ask that question.
No, that's
what has it done for you guys psychologically, financially?
Hey, thank goodness for my wife and I. We have a very strong marriage, and we come from a very strong family. So, and we're through the trough. You hate to say this, but Dad has died, and we're now on the backside of hopefully getting some satisfaction with the conviction of the exploiter, and most importantly, we finally got the attention of some very strong leaders here in Nevada who heard the story of our family and many, many others and have taken a stand to put a stop to what has been going on here, again, for the last 20 years. First on that list is your Chief Justice of your Supreme Court, James Hardesty. When I realized how rampant this was and how difficult it was to get the attention of everyone, because there were many powerful lawyers here in town who didn't want to see their party ended. But I started appealing to Adam Laxalt before he was elected, met with his team last March of 15, presented evidence on about a dozen cases, and they immediately sponsored an investigation, and that investigation is still ongoing. But the real breakthrough was through the lobbying of several media outlets here in town, namely ABC News, Darcy Spears, their chief investigative reporter.
She's pretty vicious.
She's great, very factual. Her hurdle on credibility and integrity is very high, which is good. Mm-hmm. When you're telling a story that is this outrageous, it's imperative that you have your facts straight.
Absolutely.
Because no one wants to believe it. This is the United States, and you're telling me I can be kidnapped?
Legally.
That my judicial system embraces human trafficking? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm telling you. But anyway, Darcy picked up the story. They started running pieces on several families, and then the breakthrough was when Steve Sisolak, the chairman of your county commissioners, he and I have been dialoguing for several months, more one-way than two-way. But once ABC News picked it up, Steve reached out, and he held a county commissioners meeting where several families came in and spoke of their issues. He formed a blue ribbon panel. Chief Justice Hardesty took that panel over, and he's now been meeting with several leaders, about 25 across the state, to reform guardianship on a statewide basis that hopefully moving forward will resolve a lot of the issues. The one issue that has not been solved is, the families over the last 25 years that have been drawn into this have never gotten a dollar back. No one has been arrested. And my journey as we continue to advocate this topic will be to try to get a few people in jail for what they've done.
Yeah, because that just amazes me that the legal wrangling can just keep this thing in court and just burn up every dollar that's out there. I don't understand. There's an issue. It's obviously an issue because you've exposed it, and yet we're still this slow getting it done.
Yeah. This is such big business. You and Steve do a great job of exposing inefficiencies and issues in our government. And this is clearly one. This is a national issue. It all resolves around poor judiciary practices, and I'll call them neglect or negligent out of the sake of kindness, but most of them are corrupt, okay? You can't prove it. I don't know how the money flows back, but the consistency of decisions that eliminate family, overrule DPOAs, overrule trust, overrule wills, to insert a private professional guardian who is in front of that judge every week, it's too consistent for it to just be buffoonery or negligence. And it happens all over the country every time you find a judge who's willing to participate. And our estimates are that about $10 billion a year, $10 billion with a B, transfers every year from retirees into the hands of third parties for their personal conversion of those funds and away from the benefits of the people who actually earned it.
Now, is this an isolated incident, or does this happen other places?
Oh, all over.
It does happen all over.
You got to remember that. Here's some statistics. The average 80-year-old has a net worth of $300,000.
Okay.
The average 80-year-old makes $24,000 a year. That net worth creates about $4 trillion of assets around the country. And your faculties, as we sit here today, you and I are middle-aged guys. Mm-hmm. You a bit younger than me, but
not by much.
Thank you. But we're both middle-aged. We have our faculties. If someone took $20 from you, you could defend yourself.
Absolutely.
But when you get 80 and you use electronic transfers and you have, you're vulnerable. You don't have someone with you who's looking after you, or you've chosen to retire in an area where your family isn't local, you become very, very vulnerable to people, and particularly when they have the court in their pocket. Family court is a very informal environment. It's not like going to a criminal court proceeding or, for the Perry Mason kind of shows. It's argument wins the day. There isn't a big focus on evidence. And that kind of environment creates perversion. And what you see in the retirement states, Arizona, Florida, Texas, California, but even in more of your Rust Belt states where you've got elderly that have chosen to stay in their homes that they've lived in their entire lives, these cadres are coming into the family courts knowing I can leverage argument, I can leverage my predatory practices, and I can most likely get your estate and enjoy it for my benefit, and you'll go off to a group home where you'll be isolated until you die.
Wow, that's amazing because, we'd spoken briefly outside and because I am setting myself up, my wife and I, to take care of our folks, and I'm in charge of their trust and, some of the stuff you talked about. So I appreciate the words of wisdom in what you're going through. So my last question before we take a break is, if our listeners are out there and somebody's going through this going, oh my God, that's happening to me, where do they start? Who can they contact? What do they do? Because, you've done a lot of background, so you could be a resource.
No, absolutely. And I'll give them 2 bits of advice. These are criminal actions. So if there's a listener out there that feels that their loved one or a private professional guardian or anyone is taking advantage of them financially, call Metro. They have fine detectives. They're senior detectives who have now been educated on how this works. And Sergeant Haynes or Detective Haynes, Colin Haynes, Detective Troyce Crumey, and Detective Jerome Milton at Metro have come a long way to help on the investigative side. On the legal guidance side, I would recommend that they go to the Legal Aid Center of Southern Nevada. Barbara Buckley is the executive director there. She's a former Speaker of the Assembly. Wonderful lady, very, very professional, and very concerned about what has occurred. She's added 1 lawyer. She's looking at adding more to provide consultation for free to those that are lacking money. Because the key point here is that once you're in guardianship, you're penniless.
Right.
So one day you have a lot of money. The next day you need Barbara because you don't have any money.
Yeah.
So Barbara's a good resource.
Well, good. Well, thank you again, Mr. Black, for coming in and telling us your story. If those of you out there are experiencing this, you know what to do now. So my name's Troy Warren, Veterans in Politics. We'll take a break. Be right back with Congressman Cresent Hardy.
Legal Forms and Tax Services have been serving Nevada. Nevada Legal Forms and Tax Services, the reliable option for your legal and tax matters. The original do-it-yourself legal source store with paralegals, registered doc preparers, and enrolled agents to assist you when you need it. Need help getting divorced, starting your business, or just filing your taxes? Nevada Legal Forms is there for you. Nevada Legal Forms has over 1,000 legal forms and do-yourself kits for all your everyday matters. Nevada Legal Forms, the best place to start. Nevada Legal Forms and Tax Services is not a law office or have attorneys on staff and cannot give legal advice.
Nevada Legal Forms, Charleston and Valley View. Call 702-870-0977 or online at nevadalegalforms.com.
Hi, my name's Annette Levy. Did you know that we usually elect judges based solely on name recognition? So here goes. My name's Annette Levy. My name's Annette Levy. My name's Annette Levy. Now, for those of you who might want to know a little more, I have 29 years legal experience, 15 years arbitrator, 11 years judge pro tem. I'm ethical. I'm experienced. I want to be your district court judge in Department 20. And by the way, My name's Annette Levy.
Paid for by the Committee to Elect Annette Levy. If you'd like to know more, visit her website at electannette.com.
Paul Patta Law is a proud sponsor of Veterans and Politics. Attorney Paul Patta, a former federal prosecutor, is ready to fight for you. If you've been injured in a car accident, call Paul. Been a victim of a medical malpractice at the VA? Call Paul. Suffered a slip and fall? You better call Paul. Paul Patta Law, 702-366-1888. That's 702-366-1888. Or check us out on the web at paulpadda.com. That's paulpatta.com. You fought for our country, now let us fight for you at Paul Patta Law.
All right, well, welcome back to Veterans in Politics. My name's Troy Moore, and I'm in for Steve Sanson and Jim Jonas today. They're actually down at Rhythm Kitchen doing the endorsement interviews. So we've got a little bit of a, I don't want to call it a hiccup. Congressman Hardy is just running a little behind. I'm not real sure. I think he just flew in, and I was talking to his person outside, and he is just around the corner. So you know what? I'm going to rant a little bit today. I have an issue with this bathroom thing going on. You know, I've been called a bigot because of my views, but I'm telling you, I believe it as strongly as I'm sitting here and you're listening to me. If you're swinging meat, you go to the men's room. Period. I don't care what you identify as or anything. Until you have the surgery and literally become a woman, you stay out of the women's bathroom. I think there's a lot of stuff around that. You know, you've got, it's ironic, and, you know, this has been all over Facebook. You got people like Springsteen and some of the other stars. Who was it? Stone Temple Pilots and a couple of others. They canceled concerts back east in protest of that, and they're considered heroes. Yet somebody who bakes a cake refuses to bake a cake based on their values, and they get fined and put out of business. There's something ass backwards going on in this country right now, and I really don't understand what it is. Do you know any? Are you?
I've got no clue what's going on, to be totally honest with you.
No.
I just noticed that our country seems like it's falling apart at the seams. It really does.
Yeah, and it's just like this gets dumber and dumber, or as I like to say on Facebook, stupider and stupider, moment by moment anymore. It's not even day by day or week by week.
No, it's minute by minute.
By minute. This strange stuff keeps coming out. And, you know, I'm a Trump supporter. I like Trump. But I got taken aback with his comments the other day on I think it was the Today Show, about the stuff. You know, if you want, build gender-neutral bathrooms. I'm okay with that. Would I use it? Probably, if necessary. But there's men's and women's, and you know, I was asked one time, well, just because they've got the anatomy, is that supposed to be what the deal is? And I go, well, nature says you're a dude. Go into the bathroom. Hey, I think Congressman.
I think they're actually here. You want me to let him in? I can let him in.
Yeah, if you would, just let him in, and we'll get Congressman Hardy in here, and we'll get set down and. Excuse us here, folks. Go ahead, Miss Espinosa. You can sit down. Well, sir, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure's all mine.
I voted for you.
Thank you.
You're in my district, or I'm in your district, or however that looks. I don't know how long you've been there. I've been there since I was born.
I've been in Nevada since I was born. I've lived out in the Virgin Valley area my whole life. My grandfather was actually the first baby born in Mesquite, Nevada, and my great-great-grandfather was the original settler of the valley. So.
Wow! So we have two natives having a conversation today.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that you know, that's a good piece of information for me to have, because I really like the fact that you understand what's going on here. I just want to touch briefly on your race when you won. I went to bed and was thoroughly disappointed. I'm like, he's lost. I couldn't believe it. And I woke up the next morning and he had won. What was going through your mind? You had to have been absolutely, because I mean, dude, it had just been weird.
I'm gonna tell you, there was no emotion.
Really?
The opportunity for me, I look at it a little different than other people.
Okay.
And I got to tell you, I've never sought out an office.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's a privilege to serve your community any way you get that opportunity.
Absolutely.
And every time I've ever had the opportunity to serve at a position, it's actually been somebody's asked me. This has never been a career for me to be involved in politics of any kind. And if I could go a little further and explain why.
Absolutely.
And I've said this many times. My parents were, like I said, lifelong residents in Nevada. My dad used to say things to me like, son, don't come to me with a problem unless you got an answer how to fix it, because you sure as hell ain't going to like the one I got. Son, damn it, if you want the horse or the buggy to go where you want it to go, you got to take control of the reins. Stop sitting on the back of the saddle. And his 11th commandment was, thou shalt not whine. And I can go on and on with these analogies.
I got it. I think your dad and my dad know each other then.
So, but with that being said, they were great community servants. I think my parents, liked to get out and help people, and didn't have a whole lot, but it kind of you learn by example. And as I got older and had my own children, I got involved because people ask you to take a look at things. And I ran for a water board, and I ran for a city council, I ran for state legislature, but all the time I'm running my own life. I worked 40 years in the construction industry. And so, it's amazing what you can juggle, and this is a real privilege to serve here. So there was no expectations for me to win, so to speak, by most people, and so I'd never, worried a whole lot about it. I knew I could win. I think leave things in certain people's hands that are outside of my power.
Agreed.
And I think I've done well and blessed in this office because I've got the best people working with me of any office in the state and probably the country, in my opinion. So,
well, I'm telling you, Kelly Flat took care of stuff out here while we were waiting for you to get here. So if she's any indication, you've got some good people around you.
I have fantastic people. I got to tell you, we just had a VA Veterans Town Hall, Veterans Care Fair.
Mm-hmm.
We just left there. That's the reason I was running late. And I'm be darned if I'm going to leave a veteran standing there talking to me about their issue. So,
fair enough.
And so,
especially considering the radio show.
Yeah, and so it was a great turnout there at the VA hospital there in North Las Vegas, and it's an enjoyment to me to be able to see and be able to try to help some of these issues out and help people with their issues. So.
Okay, so I know you're big on the VA stuff. However, one of the nitty gritty things I want to get into is the dog and pony show called ACA. In the House, you guys have voted, I don't know how many times, to repeal it. Mm-hmm. When are we going to be done with the dog and pony show? Is there anything, because here's where I'm at. Personally, my wife and I have gone from $402 a month to almost over $900 a month. We've got less coverage, and for the third time, we've just got to notice we lost our doctor again. Well, and it's all because of what's going around with the ADA. When are we going to get this fixed, or is there a fix for it?
The only way you're going to fix this is if you elect the right president that's willing to stand up and repeal and replace it. You're never going to do completely away with it anymore. It's been in place now too long. But we have voted for first time last year. It actually got it on the president's desk, and he vetoed it, but we couldn't override his veto. So if you get us a president to where we can get it to his desk, we can do the right thing, because it has been a handcuff on our economy. Matter of fact, it's one of the biggest things on ruining our economy right now. And we hear about all the success that the president is having with our economy, and things are coming back. I'm going to tell you, folks, I want you to think about this really heavy. You look at your state legislatures and your governors, and you'll recognize that where the actions that are benefiting you economically, it's from those state legislatures and those governors. And I'd be willing to bet if you look at the 31 states that have Republican governors, it's hard to throw the politics in there.
No, that's what the show
You'll
is.
see where the strength is lying and where the economies are doing the best. And it isn't nothing to do with this administration. He's done everything he can to handcuff and handicap small business. I'm the chairman over regulation oversight on the Hill with small businesses, and it's amazing what's going on. Last year alone, 82,035 pages of new regulations come out of the administration. 82,035 pages. Yeah, you're just about to fall off your chair, and most people don't understand that. Now think about that in economic terms. What does that do to a small business? Now, he doesn't know if he's violating the law or not, But when you look at that in that avenue, that's almost 300 pages a day that some small business has to read just to make sure that
They're complying.
They're complying. That's almost 4,000, big rules, overriding rules. But the pages go with it. You have to understand everything within that regulation. So, and he's on track to do well over 80,000 pages a year.
See, that to me is just amazing, because I was at a luncheon yesterday, Americans for Prosperity, and we had NPRI, Nevada Policy Research Institute, and they talked about how government handcuffs people wanting to go into business. And, I just had Jesse Sbaih in here. He was running for CD3, I believe. And he's, it's almost kind of like he pushed it off. It was more of a state thing, but yet I hear you, and there's a lot of stuff going on at the federal level. Is there any way to stop that? Because, for me as a business owner or a former business owner, I don't need to ask anybody permission to go into business. But that seems like that's what we have to do now. Can I go into business, government? That's what it seems like.
And that's basically where you're at. You can't afford all the compliance of people you'd have to hire just to start a business. It used to be the numbers kind of work like this. You start a small business, you can get by with yourself, your own accountant, and maybe an accountant inside your office to do your checking and do your taxes and keep up with the process. And then you knew once you got around 30 plus employees that you might have to take another step, because now you come from a little bit bigger, but it's almost like a leap between the two, because now you got to get an extra accountant, you've got to have an HR person, you've got to have all these issues to go along with it. So it becomes really, really difficult for you to start a business, because you've got to have so much to start and so much income invested in that. And so where's the privilege of being an employer anymore? It's now it's more than a gamble, which it always has been in a small business. It's been a gamble when you started. It's my money that invests. It's everything I do. But now government suppresses you, holds their hand on you, makes sure that you're going to pay for my insurance. You're going to give me my sick leave, and you've just
started. You're going to pay for college.
Yeah, well, that's another issue on itself. All the free stuff that you're going to get with my taxes.
Correct.
And with that being said, now you've got the new rules that just come out. Have you heard of the overtime rule? Okay, we understand that there's a low income rate. Well, it's set currently now at $23,660.
Okay.
So somebody that works for somebody, a salaried employee, now instead of going that, and if you worked over that, you got paid overtime over 40, and which is fair. That number should be a little higher. I agree. But this administration has moved it to 50,440. Do you realize how many people that's going to put unemployment out of a job? You'll be getting people to part-time jobs, cutting their hours back, rather than letting them be in that supervisory role. That I always wanted that type of job that was give me a little more security, to have that salaried position rather than an hour to hour, because I can kind of come and go as I please. I can do the things I want to do, but
as long as the job got done.
Yeah, and now it's going to change that whole environment. In gaming, I've heard more fear out of this than any other rule that's comes in my year in 3 months that I've been there on the Hill. So,
wow, that's amazing. Okay, so we're going to shift gears just a little bit. We're going back to veterans. Okay, so we have to make this quick. Just give us a brief overview of some of the stuff that's happening with the VA, and if we're going to get that straightened out anytime soon.
We've gone a long way to try to improve the VA. We need to continue to make sure we do great oversight of what's going on. Is there problems still? Yes. In any industry, there's going to be problems. But there's a discussion out there about whether to go privatize it or keep it in the public hand. Well, here's what I've seen as a new person, and not real familiar with all the networkings of it, but if we go to the total private sector, I think we lose a lot of intellectual insight. We have got fantastic doctors here in our community over at the VA, and they're there because they want to serve veterans. I just met with a gentleman over there with a pain specialist, and he comes from the University of Utah, probably one of the brightest minds in the country. And he's there because that's what he wants to do. He could go make a fortune somewhere else.
Wow.
And so we got to remember we got to work with this process. We got to get through it. There's going to be challenges. We got to make sure that we stop the corruption. But at the same time, when the VA is doing something good, we need to recognize that. And so
agreed.
It's a combination of two. And so it just can't be all the negative. But we're working through it and should have some good things going for the future, I hope. So.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you rushing and getting here so we could at least have a little bit of a conversation. Point of contact you'd like to give to our listeners?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, call out to my office. Any veterans issues you have, make sure you contact the office, and you can reach out to us at 702-912-1634. Again, that's 702-912-1634. Like I said, I've got the greatest office out there in the district, and so they're ready, willing, and able to serve and get your issue solved the best they can.
Well, good. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show today. I appreciate your insights on what we had discussed. Good luck on your election.
Thank you.
And just know you got my vote.
Look forward to seeing you around. Thanks.
That's Congressman Hardy from CD4. My name is Troy Warren, in for Steve Sanson and Jim Jonas. We will talk to you next week.